Welcome. In the fall of 1975, after the defeat at Katenge, the MPLA and its Cuban advisors were on the brink of being wiped out. The Cuban leadership found itself facing a military catastrophe. They had only two options: retreat to minimize losses or send in reinforcements to crush the advancing South African forces. For Castro, this was not just a military decision but a matter of political survival. With everything on the line, he chose to take a massive gamble and ordered a full-scale military intervention in Angola. Following the decision, frenzied preparations began in Cuba to ship thousands of troops, arms, and equipment to Luanda. The goal was to build up a significant military force, backed by heavy artillery, tanks, and thousands of troops, that could drive the enemy out of Angola and extend the MPLA's control over the country. But for the MPLA to survive, Luanda had to be saved. By November, the situation had become critical. The South African armored columns were making significant gains, pushing deeper into Angola. Castro then ordered the Battalion of Special Forces subordinate to the Ministry of Interior to be dispatched immediately to Luanda. Specifically created for special operations anywhere in the world, the elite 652-man battalion was one of Cuba's most experienced professional units. Only cadres with the soundest political convictions were selected for the special forces. Their unwavering loyalty to the Cuban regime was one of the reasons they were chosen to spearhead the intervention. On November 7, 1975, Fidel Castro addressed the members of the battalion in Havana. Castro outlined the dire situation in Angola in painstaking detail. He spoke of the growing difficulties faced by the Cuban instructors on the ground. He also mentioned the rapid advance of the South African armored columns and the casualties already suffered, including Cuban lives lost in recent skirmishes. Castro made it clear: the South Africans needed to understand the consequences of clashing with Cuban forces. Tension filled the room as Castro, with characteristic frankness, admitted that many of those in the room might not return alive from the mission he was about to order. The situation was complex, given the power of the South African military. Castro believed that only a Cuban force could stop them, his audience, the 652 men of the elite Special Forces Battalion. He then addressed the gathered soldiers directly, posing the crucial question: do you consider yourselves capable of carrying out this mission? A deafening roar erupted from the room, a unified, thunderous cry of affirmation. The decision had been made. Without delay, the first company of the battalion made its way to the airport. In the weeks to come, the Cuban Special Forces would clash fiercely with South African troops. Ultimately, they halted the South African advance, accomplishing the mission that Castro had given them. Continue watching our videos to learn more about the Angola War.